Well, hello, friends, and welcome to Kalos. It's that time of year again. What better time than to do a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Y using only the spooky type, aka the ghost type. We've done a couple of runs in the past of the ghost type. I do like to do them around this time of year, but they're not reserved for the spooky season, and I have honestly been waiting to do this run forever. I've wanted to do it. I've wanted to play with the Gen 6 ghost types, and I never noticed the 3DS. That is super cool. I've never played as the female protagonist either, but holding a 3DS, waking up, that probably speaks to a lot of people. When they were growing up, I had my Game Boy for sure. Because this is a Kalos run, we have 4 different rivals, none of which we can name. Tierno, Trevor, Shauna, and Calum are our rivals, and in my head I have nicknamed all 4 of them Algorithm. Now we're going to make them call us the Algorithm because that's a paradox and it's hilarious, but nonetheless, we have nicknamed them in our heads because we are trying to beat the Algorithm both in-game and in real life. Now the in-game Algorithm should be relatively easy to defeat with the exception of Calum, but the real-life Algorithm is much harder regardless, and it is a team effort. I need your help. You can help me defeat the Algorithm by liking the video, commenting, subscribing to the channel, hitting the notification bell, and of course sharing this video. If you want a little bit further access to things, you can become a channel member. You get early access to the videos at an apprentice tier, and you can permanently nickname a Pokemon at the journeyman tier. None of that is required, but it is all greatly appreciated. And once again, thank you guys for the continued support. Of course, none of these Pokemon are Ghost type. I think the only Pokemon that evolves into a Ghost type is the Hisuian Typhlosion. I may be incorrect, you guys will have to let me know, but we're going to pick Fennekin nonetheless, so that our rival has an eventual Greninja, probably giving us our hardest challenge. There are a couple of areas in Kalos that have multiple encounters. Route 16 we can find a Pumpkaboo or Trevenant, and in the Lost Hotel we can find a Rotom or a Litwick. So with the help of Professor Oak, because I have some dirt on him, we changed our Fennekin into a Pumpkaboo named Ramirez with a lax plus defense and minus special defense nature. This is our official starter so that we can use ghost types throughout the entire run, and I've never used these Gen 6 inspired Pokemon, so I'm excited. We get forced to play the matchmaker, giving our mom a letter that was given to us by Tierno, and she asks, it says it's from somebody named Sycamore, and could it be a love letter? It could be, Mom. You know, you're a good-looking gal. You're still young. Sycamore is gorgeous. We're about to head off into a whirlwind adventure, so why not spread your wings, get out there? A fletchling can't be your only companion through the remainder of your life. I definitely condone this behavior. You have my blessing. Now, we have a slight problem that's good and bad. We can't hit normal types, and normal types can't hit us. At level 6, we do learn a move called Trick or Treat, fitting for this time of year. It adds the ghost type to normal type Pokemon, but unlike other moves, it doesn't get rid of the normal typing. It just adds an additional typing, so we still can't hit the Zigzagoon with our ghost type moves. We have to pray for some Confuse Ray shenanigans, and this is not a great way to run through the early game. So when it comes to normal types, we're going to have to probably lose all of our power points and do struggle strats to get through some of these early game battles and really pay attention to the trainers that we have to battle versus the trainers that we can avoid. It's a little bit annoying and a little bit cumbersome, but it comes with the territory of running ghost types. Normally this works in our advantage, but this Pokemon specifically doesn't learn a better move until level 16, where it learns Razor Leaf. We do eventually make our way to Viola, and we can take on her bug types. The Surskit I'm not really scared of, but the Vivillon I am. It has Infestation, which though it's not going to do much damage, it does stack up over time, and we only have one Pokemon. So we can use Trick or Treat against the Surskit as it went for a bubble. A couple of them do very minimal damage because of our grass typing, and then we do over half with an Astonish. After a Water Spout, we take out the Surskit, and we're sitting at pretty decent health as the Vivillon comes out. I decide to go for a Confuse Ray, but am outsped, and Vivillon goes for Harden, which is very annoying because we have physical type moves. It hurts itself in confusion, being a little reckless. That's a great Trick or Treat to add the ghost type. Hurts itself in confusion again, so why not a scary face to lower this thing's speed so that we hopefully outspeed it, and we do. Not quite doing half, but with the help of confused damage, we do take the Vivillon to half. It finally breaks through to hit us with an infestation right at low health, so this means Viola is going to burn a potion. A little bit annoying as the damage is stacking up, but I knew this is what was going to happen. It's a battle of attrition. Can we make it through? It looks like the answer is yes. Just barely. As the Vivillon snaps out of confusion, we leave it at a sliver. I'm at 7 HP, but we outspeed and can take it out to win our first badge. Just before entering Lumio City, we get the TM for return, and this gives us a move that we can actually hit normal types with. We are going to get to level 16 as well to gain Razor Leaf, so it is what it is. But Lumio City is the setting of the newest Pokemon game that we will play eventually. Here in Generation 6, it's a much smaller town and a little bit harder to navigate just because the camera controls can be a little bit confusing. But as long as you just press the directional pad and hold it, you can move the camera around relatively easy. Now, as we battle Sycamore to get our hands on a Kanto starter that's ultimately just going to be an HM Mon, I want to tell you guys I'm committed to the grind. The last video, this video, and the next video will all be recording back to back to back so that I have them available, because whilst this video is being watched by you guys on October 31st or November 2nd, I'm currently sitting on an island in the Pacific known as Hawaii. My family and I went on vacation for a week, so that there was not a lull in videos. We did plan it out very nicely, and you should be watching all of these videos. Whilst we're in Hawaii, obviously I'm not going to do any recording. We're going to spend time with the family and enjoy our time. But I want to make sure that the videos come out, so we put our nose to the grindstone, managed to get these runs done, and I really do hope you guys enjoy them. And this is past me saying hello to future you from the islands. Red hair, Team Flare. Team Flare, red hair. Team leader, lead singer. Lysander, Wayne Static. If we hadn't given ourselves the Pumpkaboo, Route 6 Hone Edge is the first ghost type we can get. Spec has an adamant plus attack and minus special attack nature with the no guard ability. We know this Pokemon's great. We used it in the steel only type run and it was amazing. Now heading into the palace, this guy says the proceeds from the entrance fee help pay for repairing and restoring the palace. Probably. It was $1,000 to get in here. You're starting to sound like the American government. Where is my money actually going? That's what I want to know. Not knowing just seems like it shouldn't be a thing, right? Like I should know where it's going. And then on Route 8, we can find a Drifloon named Berkowitz with a lax plus defense and minus special defense nature. This is a great Pokemon. We've used it before. I'm excited to add it to the team. Grant's Rock-type Pokemon shouldn't be that difficult for a Steel-type Pokemon to defeat, you would think. The Amora does go down to a quad super effective Rock Smash, but the Tyrunt that comes out next has Strong Jaw and Bite. So we had to EV train to the max. We have the Rocky Helmet, we outspeed, we got a defense drop, and then Rock Tomb because we outspeed. Okay. So we can go for a Shadow Sneak to maintain the speed difference. I don't know if we still outspeed, but I can't swap anything into a Bite, and I don't know if we survive one. We do, just barely on 8 HP, and the Rocky Helmet wins us the second gym badge. On Route 10, we can catch a Golett named Gacy with a quiet plus special attack and minus speed nature. This thing is not very fast inherently, but the Iron Fist ability is absolutely awesome. Leaving Geosinge, we have a non-gym battle with the gym leader Corinna and her two Lucarios. Now with their movesets, they cannot do anything against our ghost-type team. I did make the arduous task of heading all the way back to Lumios to get the TM for Bulldoze. It's a great stab option for Gacy, and I didn't quite have the coins to buy it whilst we were there, so I backtracked, and it was well worth the backtrack. In Reflection Cave, we're looking for our next encounter, and with the Wobbuffets having Shadow Tag, I thought we had to battle these things, but I was mashing through it really fast and we ran away. That's because ghost types aren't actually affected by Shadow Tag. I didn't know that. The more you know. It's a pretty neat thing, and I love learning new things when playing Pokemon games, even if they're a little old. Warnos the Sableye is what we were after in the Reflection Cave. It has a Brave, plus attack, and minus speed nature. Unfortunately, we can't get an ability capsule until post-game from Kyloot City, where we could give this thing Prankster. Keen-Eye's perfectly fine, but this thing with Prankster would be so much better. Hey, Berkowitz evolves. I think this is the first evolution of the team, and we are almost to the third gym battle. Now we're in the Tower of Mastery learning about Mega Evolutions, and I'm sure you guys are all tired of hearing about Mega Evolutions with the Pokemon Legends ZA games. We're not going to talk about Mega Evolutions here, we're going to battle Calum and his team. The Meowstic is not really a problem. We're going to get hit with the Disarming Voice and go for Autotomize to raise our speed. What is a problem is, of course, the Absol in the back. We one-shot with a crit Shadow Claw on the Meowstic, and the aforementioned Absol comes out next. This Pokemon is very scary, but we still have Rock Smash. Bite does a lot of damage, 6 HP. Well, that's not exactly what I thought would happen, but we can swap into Warnos for the neutral damage Bite. Still does a ton of damage. Jeez. A Fake Out does a little bit of chip, and then we can go for the priority Shadow Sneak to knock it out, but that battle was closer than it should have been. And very soon, Calum is going to have a Greninja, which is also a Dark-type Pokemon, so this is going to be a battle that's actually going to be something I have to spend some time on coming up with a better plan than what we did here. What I don't have to plan for is Korrina's fighting types. The only Pokemon that can do anything to my Pokemon is the Machoke with Rock Tomb. And after a Gust against the Mienfoo, it's a couple of Hyper Potions trying to keep this thing healthy and delaying the inevitable. I do think that Korrina is going to swap here as we take the Mienfoo low for the third time, so I preemptively swap into Spec to tank the Rock Tombs much better from what I thought was a swap, and it was. I read you like a book. Aerial Ace from Spec does a ton of damage, not quite one-shotting. Rock Tomb is fine, we're now outsped, so it will go forward Leer, and we can take it out with another Aerial Ace. This gym was very easy to get through. There was a Hariyama with knockoff, but it was never a problem with Warnos taking neutral damage, and we can just move on from defeating Korrina here with the third gym badge and getting ourselves Power-Up Punch, which is a busted TM. Before heading into Ramos, which I forgot is where we were heading, we have another battle with Calum, and he has the exact same team he had moments ago. But this time, I lead Warnos with a priority Fake Out for some chip. We get outsped and hit with a Disarming Voice, but we can knock it out with a Stab super effective Shadow Claw. Next out is Absol, and this is where the plan is evolving, because we can go for a couple of Power-Up Punches to take this thing out. We take neutral damage from the Bite, and we stay healthy with a Citrus Berry. I think we were just barely in range of a crit there, but it doesn't matter. We take out the Absol, and the last Pokemon is Frogadier. Now the last battle, I quickly swapped into our starter Ramirez, took it out after a Water Pulse with a Seed Bomb, but this time we get hit with 2 Water Pulses, just like last time, but on the second one, confused. And then what happens? Well, Ramirez hurts himself in confusion because he's a little self-destructive. It's okay. That'll happen with the Night Stalker. We can swap into Berkowitz, tank a Water Pulse. We don't get confused. We actually outspeed, so we tag it with a Thunder Wave. It stays paralyzed, and then we can take it out with a Hex. A little bit long-winded, but we made it in the end. The reason I forgot about Ramos is because, well, Ramos is forgettable. He leads a Jumpluff, and I lead Berkowitz with Guts. I really do love Jumpluff. It was a great Pokemon in the grass-only run, and I gained a new appreciation for it. I didn't like it in Gen 2, but I do love it in Gen 6. Now, as the Weeping Bell comes out, it's an easy swap into Spec here, who is completely immune to the Poison Powder, and then we can hit Aerial Aces to do massive amount of damage. Gastro Acid is perfectly fine. We've got it in a heal lock from here, burning both of Ramos's Hyper Potions. We could switch up our move here and take this thing out easier, but why not burn up the 2 potions? The last Pokemon is going to be Gogoat, and Grass Knot really isn't going to do anything to us. I don't think it has a move that it can really knock out Spec. I've used this Pokemon before, as I mentioned. I know how good it is. I'm trying not to use it that much in these battles, as I want to come up with other strategies from other Pokemon. Again, we're looking for those Pachirisu Pokemon in these runs, like Jumpluff. Jumpluff is a great example. Immediately following the gym battle, Speck evolves into a Doublade, and we could technically get our hands on a Duskstone right now if we wanted to. If I leave my plate lying around, how am I ever going to get a proper supper? I'm never going to stop making that joke. I know it's silly, but I find it amusing every time we play Kalos. Before heading into the 5th gym, I decide to trade Ramirez to get a Gourgeist. If you use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer, it will evolve at level 37. We could have traded this Pokemon at any time to get a Gourgeist, so why not now? Now, going up against Clement and his electric types, I lead Gacy. Emolga's part flying type, so it is immune to Bulldoze, hits us with an Aerial Ace, and tanks a Rock Tomb to the face that gets a crit. A Hyper Potion from there is fine, as we get a second speed lower from Rock Tomb, but we are still outsped. So another Aerial Ace to activate our Citrus Berry, and one more Rock Tomb to knock it out, and Heliolisk is going to come out next. It has Grass Knot, it's also part normal type, so we've got to pay attention to that, and we swap into Ramirez on a Grass Knot that does very minimal damage. We get a 2-turn Bullet Seed, which is unfortunate, and then we tank the Thunderbolt very nicely, which is part of the reason we evolved this Pokemon before this battle. A 3-turn Bullet Seed then takes out the Heliolisk, and this just leaves the Magneton. Magneton does have Sturdy, so we're just going to go for Return to break its Sturdy, and then we'll swap into Gacy after the Electric Terrain is set up, because he is immune to the Thunderbolt. What we're not immune to is the Mirror Shot that I forgot this Pokemon had, that takes us all the way to 11 HP before a Quad Super Effective Stab Bulldoze takes out the Magneton. That was a little more risky than it needed to be. We now find ourselves in the Lysander Cafe, where Lysander is just kind of going on about some stuff. He does say that the king foolishly used the Mega Weapon to wipe the filth of the earth, and it was reprehensible, but it did clean up the filth. And then he gives us a King's Rock and apologizes for taking up our time and leaves. More importantly, what's crazy is Professor Sycamore is just like, what a passionate person, he's blazing like a flame. You are ignorant, my friend. You don't see what's right in front of your face, and I hate to tell you this, but I'm gonna say I told you so. Now, heading out to Route 14, I was prepared for the battle with Calum. We lead Warnos against the Meowstic, and we're gonna do the exact same thing we did last time. Fake out. It sets up a light screen this time, which is actually better, and we can take it out with a crit Shadow Claw. The crit did not matter. Absol then comes out, and we can hit a power-up punch, but we're outsped this time, and I was not paying attention to how much damage that did. That was a low roll bite, because this one leaves us at 1 HP. So we were dead to a high roll bite, not even a critical hit. That was very risky, but Warnos eventually is not going to be on the team, so we got to get through these battles somehow. It's a swap into Ramirez against the Greninja. It has Water Shuriken instead of Water Pulse, so we tank that, then another. Total of 5 turns before we fire off a Bullet Seed, and the second Bullet Seed gets a lucky critical hit to knock out the Greninja. We then get a Haunter on Route 14 named Gain with a naughty plus attack and minus special defense nature. This is the generation right before they get rid of Levitate on Gengar, so we're going to evolve this Pokemon. And I meant immediately. We trade it to get a Gengar named Gain. Oh yeah, this thing is primed up and ready to be a staple on the team. We also can find the Mega Stone for Gengar, which is right here. I've gotten it in a couple of runs before. Don't know why. I always talk to a lot of different NPCs, and this time we might actually put it to use. Now, Valerie and her Fairy-type Pokemon I'm not too scared of. We do get outsped and hit with a critical hit crunch on turn 1 from the Mawile, but then we fire off a Bulldoze that gets a -1 speed drop and puts the Mawile in a heal lock. It's a Hyper Potion, -2 from Bulldoze, another Hyper Potion, and then a -3 from Bulldoze. So now we definitely outspeed and can hit a power-up punch to take it out. We don't need the +1 to attack as we're not going to stay in. Mr. Mime comes out next and is most likely going to go for Psychic, so I swap into Warnos, anticipating it, and we get the free swap in with the immunity. From here we can hit a Fake Out. Mime likes to set up screens, which it does with a light screen, and then we can take it out with a Shadow Claw. The light screen setup is a little bit annoying as the Sylveon comes out, because I was going to bring Gain in, but instead I bring in Spec, who can also resist Dazzling Gleam very nicely. We then get outsped and tagged with a Charm, so everything's going south pretty quick. Shadow Claw doesn't do that much, and we're just going to bring Gain back in. From here, we should be able to waste enough turns so that Light Screen goes down, and we can take the Sylveon out. We'll try for a Confuse Ray, but unfortunately it breaks through Confusion to hit us with a Dazzling Gleam. Does a decent little bit of damage, though it is resisted, and the Light Screen wears off. Shadow Ball does massive damage. It snaps out of Confusion to hit us with another Dazzling Gleam, so that was a waste of a turn before we take it out with a Shadow Ball. Gacy then evolves from a Golett into a Golurk, and I am gaining a lot of appreciation for this Pokemon. It is amazing. With some secret EV training out of the way, we can get our hands on a Duskstone as we've done times before, and evolve Spec into an Aegislash. Then in the Lost Hotel, we can find Bundy the Litwick with a Timid, plus speed and minus attack nature. I'll actually take that, that's pretty decent. Flash Fire is also decent. I would have preferred Flame Body though. On Route 16, we get our hands on a Phantump named Dahmer. It has a mild plus special attack and minus defense nature. This is the last Pokemon I'm going to get, though it is not the last encounter that we can get. In the Pokemon Village, we could pick up a Banette, but I'm not going to use it. And Forest Curse adds the Grass type to Pokemon. Interesting. And just like with Ramirez, Dahmer is a trait evolution that we do immediately to get a Trevenant. Bundy then has an Evo, and I'm not going to evolve this thing into a Chandelure all the way. I think I'm going to wait till it learns Shadow Ball. In Anastar City, we are challenged to another rival battle with Caleb, but this time I have a much better plan. Gain leads with a Shadow Ball that one-shots Meowstic because we outspeed. Greninja is then baited in next because it is a Dark-type Pokemon with Dark Pulse. We can take it out, however, with a Thunderbolt. I do have the Zap Plate to ensure that was a one-shot. This is going to bring out Absol, which is not very scary anymore because we have Dazzling Gleam to one-shot it. The crit didn't matter. The last Pokemon is the newest addition to his team, a Flareon that does have Bite. We're just going to hit it with a Stab Shadow Ball, and then it goes for Lava Plume. Okay. Perfectly fine. We'll go for another Shadow Ball and take it out. Now, can you guess how the Psychic-type gym went for a Ghost-type team? We lead Gain against the Sigilyph, and we take it out with a Stab super effective Shadow Ball. Now, as the Slowking comes out, I want to try the newest member of our team, Dahmer. So we swap into Dahmer on a Psychic. It does a decent amount of damage. And then we can outspeed and fire off a Horn Leech that actually gets the one-shot, and we recover all of our health back. That is a great showing for the first time out. Meowstic then comes out. It does outspeed us to go for a Calm Mind, but that does not matter as we go for Phantom Force, which is a neat little move. We disappear, and then we come back in one shot. We now have to battle Lysander 3 different times, and we're getting real heavy into the Team Flare storyline, story arc, story finish thing. And honestly, even though a lot of the Team Flare admins have Dark-type Pokemon, they've been relatively easy for us to deal with Warnos and Gain now that it's on the team. A lot of the Houndooms just go for Odor Sleuth. They don't go for any Dark-type moves, so we haven't had very many issues other than watching our level caps. It's been a breeze. And Lysander is going to be a breeze until the last time that we battle him, where things are going to change just a little bit. I did speak a little too soon as we had a back-to-back battle here with a couple of admins, and our team, well, let's just take a look at it. Yeah, Ramirez and Gain both got taken very low. Leaving Bundy as a Lampet until level 53, it can learn Shadow Ball. We don't get it until Terminus Cave, so we can let it evolve into a Chandelure at this point now that we know Shadow Ball. We now take on Lysander in his Doc Ock form. Against the Mienshao, we lead with Gain and a Dazzling Gleam to one-shot. As the Pyroar comes out, I decide to Mega Evolve in this battle. I was hoping that gaining the 40 points to special attack would allow us to one-shot the Pyroar, but unfortunately we don't. So since we don't one-shot the Pyroar with a Thunderbolt, it's part normal type by the way, we have to tank a Fire Blast, which we do. We can then take it out with a Thunderbolt, and Honchkrow is going to come out next. Regardless of the Mega, we would have one-shot this thing with a Thunderbolt. Because we lost our Levitate ability and now have the Shadow Tag ability, we need to swap as the Gyarados comes out and is most likely going to go for Earthquake, and Dahmer has a pretty good defense stat, so we're going to swap into it. Gyarados Mega Evolving loses the Flying type, gaining the Dark type, so our Horn Leeches are going to do super effective damage. Earthquake does minimal damage. Horn Leech unfortunately doesn't get the one-shot, but it does massive damage. We then get hit with an Outrage that also does massive damage. But no matter, we take out the Gyarados, and that is Lysander Doc Ock form defeated once again. With Bundy fully evolved into a Chandelure, Wolfric is going to be a joke. In the Lost Hotel, we could have got a Rotom, and we could change Rotom's forms, but I much prefer to use the Chandelure. It's a great Pokemon. Flamethrowers will one-shot all of his Pokemon, and we got that TM in the Anastar Pokemon Center during a certain time of day. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. On to the Elite Four. I talk about Gen 5's gate going into the Pokemon League, but Gen 6 is just as good, in my opinion. Just before heading into the Elite Four, we have one final battle with Kalem, who leads Meowstic, and I lead Gain. Gain is going to knock out the Meowstic with a stab super effective Shadow Ball. This is going to bring out the Greninja, who is going to fall to a super effective Thunderbolt. I've said stab so many times, I've had to re-record this like a half a dozen times. We do have an HM Pokemon on us to get us to the Elite Four, so it's trying to learn Skull Bash, don't worry about that. Absol comes out next and falls to a Dazzling Gleam, as it has done time and time again. The last two Pokemon on his team are Flareon and Altaria. Flareon, we stay in and fire off a Shadow Ball, and then we get hit with a nasty little bite. No matter, we take it out with one more Shadow Ball. When Altaria comes out, for some reason I thought we could one-shot it with Dazzling Gleam, so I stay in, and we don't. And then Dragon Pulse leaves us at 5 HP. Oh, that was a huge risk right before the Elite Four, but never punished. And here is the team all leveled up and ready to take on the Elite Four. Gacy the Golurk with Shadow Punch, Rock Tomb, Power Up Punch, and Earthquake. We have Dahmer the Trevenant with Phantom Force, Horn Leech, Will-O-Wisp, and Forest's Curse. We have Bundy the Chandelure with Flamethrower, Will-O-Wisp, Shadow Ball, and Psychic. I whiff that Will-O-Wisp every time. Gain the Gengar with Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam, and Dark Pulse. These moves, disclaimer, are not set in stone. We have TMs, they may change at a moment's notice. Spec the Aegislash with Shadow Claw, Iron Head, King Shield, and Sacred Sword. And our starter, of course, Ramirez the Gourgeist with Phantom Force, Seed Bomb, Trick or Treat, and Rock Slide. Malva and her fire types are up first for the Elite Four. She leads a Pyroar, and I lead Gacy. Now we taught Rock Polish and Rock Slide to have a little bit of an advantage here. Noble Roar is annoying, but after the Rock Polish we outspeed, and a stab super effective Earthquake still one-shots the Pyroar. As a matter of fact, we're going to outspeed and one-shot the Chandelure the exact same way. Talonflame, we don't outspeed it, but we can take a Flare Blitz very nicely and then fire off a quad super effective Rock Slide to easily one-shot this Pokemon. And it did connect, which is great. The Torkoal that comes out last is a little bit more bulky, and because of the attack drop, we don't quite get the one-shot with Earthquake, but it just fires off an Earthquake of its own. So we tank that very nicely, and then we take it out. Wickstrom and his Steel types are up next for the Elite Four. He leads Klefki, and I lead Bundy. We get out prioritized with that Prankster Spikes, which is fine, but a stab super effective Flamethrower one-shots from there. Probopass then comes out next, and I thought this thing would go for Earth Power, so I do ultimately decide to swap out into Gain. When I swap into Gain, it actually was going for Power Gem, which is perfectly fine. We can break this thing sturdy with a stab Shadow Ball. There's not much else that we can do, and we get hit with a Flash Cannon that takes us to 33 HP. That was massive damage. We can swap into Bundy and tank the Flash Cannon much easier, and then we can one-shot this thing with a Flamethrower from the health that is at. From here, we should be able to easily outspeed and one-shot the rest of his Pokemon. He, of course, brings out Scizor next. Of course. I didn't think Scizor was actually going to come out next. I thought it was going to be the Aegislash, but nonetheless, A quad super effective flamethrower takes it out, and even in shield stance, we can one-shot the Aegislash with a stab super effective flamethrower. Seabold and his water types are up next against the Clawitzer. I lead Dahmer. We can hit a stab super effective Horn Leech to easily one-shot this Pokemon, and Gyarados is then baited in next. Now I could have stayed in and probably gone for Phantom Force here, but the Intimidate drop is a little bit annoying, and I didn't want this thing setting up with too many Dragon Dances, so we swap into Gain on a Dragon Dance. The Dragon Dance really didn't matter as we still outspeeded and can hit a quad super effective Thunderbolt to one-shot. Starmie then comes out next because we're weak to Psychic types, but we outspeed and one-shot with a stab super effective Shadow Ball. The last Pokemon is Barbaracle. I'm going to go ahead and bring Dahmer back in. I almost said Bundy. I meant Dahmer. Dahmer is going to tank a Stone Edge on the swap in. Does a lot more damage than I thought it should, but a Horn Leech easily one-shots. Now I figured Drasna would be the hardest challenge for us, so I left her for last, and we lead Gain against the Dragalge. We don't one-shot it with Psychic, and we just have to tank a Dragon Pulse, which does a decent amount of damage before we take it out with another Psychic. Her next Pokemon out is Noivern, and to be honest with you, I was not paying attention to movesets or anything. I thought I could one-shot this thing with the Dazzling Gleam, and I can't. And Dragon Pulse leaves us at 6 HP. That is like the third time I've risked your life in the last 10 minutes. I am so sorry. We have the Noivern, however, in a heal lock from here. We can two-shot it with Dazzling Gleam, so after a couple of full restores, we do just that. Altaria is then out next, and I'm not staying in as I don't want Gain to die, so we're going to swap, and I decide to bring in Gacy. Gacy has Rock Slide. It's super effective against the part Flying type Pokemon. Dragon Pulse also is tanked very nicely. We do get tagged with a Sing on the very next turn, and that is lucky. That would have never happened for me, but nonetheless, we do wake up. That's my luck, though, and hit a Rock Slide. Now, before we take out the Altaria, I thought about just going for Rock Slide and then worrying about the Druddigon, but it's better that I bring in Spec, tank the Dragon Pulse. We can then take out the Altaria with an Iron Head, and this gives us the stance change. The reason that we're doing this is as the Druddigon comes out, we're going to go for King Shield, which is basically Protect, but if he goes for a physical attacking move, it's going to lower his attack, which he does with Dragon Tail. Beautiful. We can then go for Iron Head to do massive amount of damage, not quite one-shotting, but we get the flinch. So now we can take it out with an Iron Head, and Drasna and the Elite Four have been defeated. Against the champion Diantha, I'm going to show you why Gacy has quickly become one of my favorite Pokemon in this run. The Hawlucha only has X-Scissor that can really do anything to us, and it can set up with Swords Dance, but we're going to go for 2 Rock Polishes to get us to +4 speed. This means we outspeed every one of our single Pokemon. Then we're going to go for a couple of power-up punches because we only need to get to +2 attack, and we're going to sweep the entire team. Setup strats are not the way I typically like to go, but I thought this was an interesting way to use a very strong Pokemon like Golurk. Hawlucha goes down to a Shadow Punch, Aurorus comes out, and we're going to go for the quad super effective power-up punch to get us to +3. This is just insult to injury at this point, and now we one-shot everything else on the field. It's a Shadow Punch to Gourgeist. What comes out next? Who knows? It's just in order, really. The Goodra comes out next. Here, we're just going to go for Earthquake. I feel like this Pokemon should be part Poison type. Doesn't matter. The Dragon goes down. She's only left with 2 more Pokemon, the Tyrantrum and Gardevoir. Tyrantrum goes down to a super effective Earthquake, and Gardevoir comes out, tracing our Iron Fist ability. It also Mega Evolves. That does not matter. A +3 stab super effective Shadow Punch with the +4 to speed. We outspeed and one-shot. The ending was anticlimactic, but we made it through this run completely deathless. A deathless Ghost-type run is kind of weird, right? Because they're already dead? Or are they undead? You know what? I don't want to think about it. I had so much fun doing this run. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I've wanted to do a Kalos Ghost-only run for about a year now. I held off until the spooky season, and this is pretty neat as we're going to be able to put this video out for channel members on Halloween. So I hope you guys enjoy the run. I hope you guys have been enjoying the run, and if you have, Let me know by leaving a comment, leaving a like. Consider subscribing if you've made it this far into the video. Share this video with some people. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.